And we are joined by none other than Lori Kent with the Local Lude podcast to talk about today's historical marker. Welcome.
Oh, awesome. So January 7th was a beautiful winter day until all of a sudden a huge storm hit. I'm not talking about January 7th a couple days ago. I'm talking about January 7th of 1873. And this historical marker is the Foster Children Tragedy, which is located in Bethel Cemetery, which is west of Sioux Falls off Benson Road. This historical marker tells us how South Dakota's weather can change on a dime, and which we're used to around here.
Yep.
And so it tells us the story of the Foster family, which was Robert and his wife Lily, who were Irish immigrants that moved to Dakota Territory at the end of 1872. And they would only be here for a few months before January 7th, this big storm hits. The Fosters lived in a sod home with 6 of their children, and 2 of them on that morning, Robert Jr. and Sarah, wanted to go check some fox traps. And so they went, and it's half a mile from their sod home. And they get there, it's a beautiful day out, it's unseasonably warm, and within the hour, a blizzard hits. And this blizzard is huge, it's disorienting, the children get lost. And instead of traveling closer to home, they're getting further and further away from home. They end up 2 miles away from the sod house, where they do find shelter, but it's not enough shelter from this storm. This blizzard lasts for 3 days. And so they found a shelter, but they pass away. And the family, the friends, they don't know this, they don't know where the kids are, so they're searching for days that turn into weeks, and they eventually find the children. In the middle of March, they find them in this old sod house. So that kind of shows you how, again, the weather can change. This storm was huge. This blizzard hit Dakota Territory, Iowa, Minnesota, and part of Wisconsin. It was for 3 days. Minnesota said that they had 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and they lost dozens of lives. And when I was recording this brand new episode of Local Lou that talks about the Foster Children Tragedy as well as Bethel Cemetery's history, I was sitting there during our recent storm, and I was thinking, I'm so thankful to be existing in modern times, and we have a meteorologist like Erin who can show us not only that a storm is coming, but can walk us through when the storm is here and tell us when it's dangerous to be outside so we don't get stuck somewhere.
How important do you think it is then to just remember, what our ancestors went through?
How far we've come.
Yeah, how far we've come. And just remembering the history there.
That's what I love about this historical marker specifically, because it's at a cemetery where they're buried, and it's telling you what happened. And without that historical marker, we wouldn't know. And I think that there's so many that don't have historical markers that have a very interesting history that brings us to how we got here today.
Yeah, and I think it's just, you hear about those all the time, like the children's blizzards,
yes,
about how, so many lives were lost due to weather events. So it just kind of makes you grateful to be growing up in a time that, we have these precautions and we're able to keep up with those weather forecasts. And yeah, so that's a sad but very, telling story about so many instances like that in our state.
Yeah. If people want to learn more, how can they do so?
Absolutely. You can go to locallupodcast.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here. It's always interesting.